13 love, 13 knowledge, 13 wisdom, 13 respect. This is your Creation 13. Today we're going to be talking about how do you handle burdens that are within your life. How do you make yourself better, a better person? How do you define and become a better person, right? Do you want to worry about everything all the time? Do you want to worry about not having enough money to pay your bills, or relationships that you have, or things of that nature, right? Learning how to ease those burdens out of your being, but also making sure that that you realize that that's part of the process, and that's part of the healing process of becoming a better person, or becoming the person that your will and intent is designed for. Have you even questioned what kind of will and intent that you want in your life, right? I've been surrounded by people as I was growing up of people just didn't have enough money, or they didn't know where to go in life. They were addicted to drugs, or they were abused, or they were the abuser. All these negative things that people were putting their burdens onto other people, right? They were either self-inflicting wounds and hurting themselves, or they were hurting others in the process. And what exactly is that? Is that these wounds have not healed. There has been entities that have taken over. Like I've said in previous videos, is that we are born pure, but this matrix structure, we're born into programs that train us, that brainwash us, that put us into enslavement to think that we are lesser of, instead of being creators to this reality, right? We're trained to be less of. We're trained that there is authorities that are higher than us. In the religious communities, we're trained to follow. We're not trained to be leaders of our own lives, right? It's so very important to understand, to lift yourself up, right? There's so many things that are twisted and turned and confused by all these programs and elements that society teaches you, the internet teaches you, right? Socialism teaches you, religion, church doctrine teaches you. All of these limited or guides to kind of progress or limit you in some way, shape, or form, right? It's all about training you and seeing if you can overcome the ways of the world, right? I'm very big on when it talks about in the Bible that it says don't follow the ways of the world. And what does that look like, right? At the end of the day, don't follow the ways of the world. It means that you need to be aware that the ways of the world are programs, right? And they're programs that you can choose to explore, you can choose to experience, but they're going to lead to dead ends because you're part of that program. So to live out of that program is going back within yourself where it all began, right? Just like, say, if you're in your mother's womb, that's where it all began. You have to go within your tomb, your temple, and be born again, which means going within yourself and rediscovering your soul, the essence, which is you. Learning how to reprogram and self-identify the real you, which is your soul, compared to the 3D illusion, this avatar that has been programmed and designed to play by the rules of the matrix, right? Play by the rules of the matrix. And that just kind of blows people's minds to think about that. Oh, that's too complex. There's no way in the world that we can look at that. I've done it. I do it every day, right? I always view things as a program. Why? Because I train myself to do so. Because I didn't want to follow the ways of the world, right? because I can see their programs. I can see how people become slaves to the programs. They don't want to progress and grow. They think they are lesser of, and they don't progress in life at all. And it just depends on if you follow those rules or not, right? It's very weird, but that's kind of the state that we're in, right? Is that people have been following all of these rules and programs without questioning anything, without questioning authority. You should be able to question authority. You should be able to ask questions maturely and say, hey, why do we do this? If they just say, well, we do just because we do it. Well, that's not a good answer at all, right? We have to look deeper into it, as well as look at the deeper meaning behind you as a soul in this avatar body, why you exist, why are you here, right? How can you improve yourself? How can you improve everything within your life? How can you create a stable foundation? We ain't never going to have a stable foundation if you can't even stabilize your being, right? You have to look at yourself in the mirror and identify everything. What happened in your childhood? What are your addictions then and now? What kind of spiritual journey are you on? Are you programmed into a religion? Are you not in a religion, but you're not on a spiritual journey either? You got to look at all these factors to improve yourself, right? To improve yourself, you have to take control and take care of your own business, right? You can't do that. Then there's nothing left. You're just kind of on autopilot at the end of the day. And so many people are on autopilots. I was posting this on Facebook today, is that the product of morals has been gone for for 2 generations, at least 2 generations, of love, honor, and respect. That's not taught anymore, right? It wasn't taught since between the 70s and early 90s. That's when love, honor, and respect was taught to children. But after the mid-90s, after the big boom of, hey, we have a voice, we can speak out. After 2000 hit and 2001, everything went down. People were trained by social media and society to be stupid, to be literally stupid, and to not question things that are happening, and to boost your ego. But it's not really ego. It is a persona that you choose, right? A program that you choose, right? People don't look at this. People are just following these monkey see, monkey do protests and choosing these programs to push into society, using personas to justify a state of being, right? Man, there's so many things that goes into that, like the biggest thing that I've seen now is, are you gay? Distinguishing if you're gay. Well, gay at the end of the day translates to happiness, right? Are you happy with your life? Are you happy with your life, right? I don't know how that word turned into man and man and woman. That makes no sense at all. And then they use the rainbow that we see from rain. We see from the reflections of water. Rainbow, right? I grew up with Rainbow Bright, right? That show can't even come back because of the socialism that has been programmed into whatever these selective dialogues create for themselves. Like, why rainbow, right? That makes no sense, man. Same way with a turban, right? I wear a turban for religious traditions and religious practices, right? I'm born and raised in a Christian home, and just continue to look and honor the Creator and honor the ancestors that came from the past, right? The Hebrew Israelites. But I'm not just going to talk to people who have turbans, right? Because distinguishing a turban itself is huge as well, because there's so many different religions and cultures that have a turban. So you have to kind of identify. You can't just put a person with a turban into a group of people, because they're going to have their own different religious views and cultures through that, and the turban is going to be based upon that, right? So I don't know how this rainbow theme became in effect, but it makes no sense, right? It's just kind of like distinguishes promises, right? Because when you're born and raised in a Christian home and you go to church, that was one of the things that always stuck out to me, was the promise of the rainbow, right? That God would never destroy the earth. But that promise has been broken many times, and that's not discussed, right? Because there's a deeper meaning behind it. And I feel that because YouTube has been promoting this, are you gay? You don't know you're gay, things like that. I look at it differently, of like, that word gay means happiness. Are you happy with your life, right? Are you happy with your life? Do you know how to identify happiness, right? Happiness is going to be in here, not going to be outside yourself. Not going to be outside yourself. The things that you enjoy in life, you can enjoy. But if you're not going within your temple, you'll never find happiness or peace within yourself, because there's so many things that you go through in life, right? Abuse and trauma, things you went through when you grew up, right? Nobody has a perfect life. Nobody was able to be rose up into a world of perfection, right? Because we never learn and grow. So we have to look at and identify why that is and what you're looking for at the end of the day. So hopefully that makes sense. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a source to go to within yourself, right? Like I said, born and raised Christian home, Christ has always been my guide and my strength. And I've always stuck by what Christ said, is that he only listens to the Creator. He goes to the Creator through his trials, his tribulations, times of crying, times of happiness and joy, whatever it is. He would always go back to within to have a conversation with the Creator, right? It's not going to a book, right, for happiness, or going to some kind of object or something to numb the pain, because you're not supposed to numb the pain. That's why so many people are hurt, so many people are confused, so many people have these inner entities that grow within themselves, right? That we're identifying these things, right? Very slowly. I've been watching, like I said, I've been talking about this throughout my channel about Daniel Adams, and that's the only guy I trust in terms of bringing up these entities, right? We can understand what a Python spirit is now. We can understand what a Jezabel spirit is now, and we can understand what a generational curse is, generational witchcraft and sorcery that's involved. There's 3 categories that can dwell within your being, and these can be transmitted how? Through sexual acts, through television, through the internet, through abuse, through how you feel, not understanding how you're psychically linked with people. There's a lot of things on how you download these entities within your being, right? If you perform sexual acts with somebody, you don't know them on a personal level, you're going to carry their tree. You're going to carry their tree. So if they have a Python spirit, they got a sorcery or witchcraft spirit, they got the Jezebel spirit, whatever it is, it's going to go onto your field, onto your rainbow, your aura field, right? And if you don't identify it, you're going to start having issues in your life. You will, right? People don't talk about that. That's why you got to have a source to go to, right? Christ translates as the anointing. Jesus means to deliver. Christ means the anointing. You got to go through deliverance and receive the anointing that purifies your being, right? A lot of people view Christ as a physical being, but it's the symbolism of this spiritual anointing, spiritual cleansing that goes through you like a fire, right? That is in you. It is not outside you, it's in you, right? Your soul has so many healing factors that are within. Your being, your vessel, is a light vehicle, right? A Merkaba. And just like an engine on a vehicle, that's what your brain is an engine, right? This does not define us. This is how our vehicle works. So if your engine, your brain gets damaged, of course your suit's not going to work right, but your soul will work right. So you got to be able to identify, what does this vehicle do, right? You know, a normal vehicle runs on a V6 engine. So what about if this thing runs on a V500 or a V10,000, right? You know, there's limitless possibilities on what this vehicle does, but because we're taught to be lesser, we can't identify that, right? So at the end of the day, whether you're going through abuse, trauma, you don't know who you are, you can't identify that you have a soul, you want to get better, you want to go through a deliverance, right? You want to be able to release this stuff. It's going to have to be to a source, right? It's going to have to be to a source. So my recommendation is just to give Christ a try. Call upon the anointing within your life, right? Like I said, Christ translates as the anointing. You got to ignite the fire, right? Just like a lantern, right? It has oil in there, but to turn that lantern on, you got to ignite it with fire. And then once that fire goes to the oil, it produces light, and it's going to light up your area. So it's going to light up your suit. So you have this anointing in you already that can purify and get rid of these python spirits, these Jezabel spirits, these sorcery spirits, these witchcraft spirits out of you, so you can be you, right? There's entities that live within you and you don't even realize it, right? That's why it's so important to look at yourself in the eye through the mirror and see if it is you or if it's somebody else controlling you, right? When something tugs you, identify it. Is it you or is it something else? If it's an addiction, feel that tug of like, okay, it's not me. Who's tugging at me? Is it a python spirit? Is it a sorcery or witchcraft spirit, right? Because Jezebel would go into the lustful nature of things, but the python is going to give birth to addictions and will just start moving up around you and take control over you. That's why it's so important to look at people in the eye and see if you're talking to the actual person or if you're talking to a python spirit, Jezebel spirit, somebody that wants to leech on to you and say, hey, I want your essence, your energy as well, right? The vampire spirit, right? So there's so many things you got to look at. And, you know, it seems complicated, but if you're aware of it, then you can identify it. Then you can identify maybe the problems within your life as well. Identify is key at the end of the day. So yeah. So deliverance is key. Christ is a good foundation. The only foundation I know. I don't know of any other foundation that has worked. And that's because Christ is linked to the anointing, the oil within you. And you just have to ignite the fire because everything's in you, not outside you, within you. Ignite the fire to purify your being. You're going to go through that through meditation, and you have to practice meditation and learn how that works. Just like driving for the first time. You ain't going to know when to push the gas. You ain't going to know how to gently push on the brakes until you practice. So meditation's key. And it's going to be that willing attentive like, hey, I'm going through meditation to meet Christ, the anointing, and to meet the Creator, so I can identify what's going on physically and what's going on in the spiritual realm as well. So I could talk forever, trying to keep this short. So if you've got questions, let me know. A lot of good information in this video, so take notes and identify things within your life or what you need to improve on. If you identify with a python spirit, identify the addictions. If you've been abused or hurt as you were growing up, you identify that and say, hey, I need to heal this. I need to send deliverance and surrender to the anointing, to Christ. Identify it, right? Identify it and get it out of your system. And then you'll be able to have a clearer direction of your life and hopefully understand that you're a soul and not this avatar body as well. So love yourself. Keep shining bright. I'll talk to you later.